Now the moment you've all been waiting for, René Rodriguez. He doesn't like when I say this, but he is the highest rated speaker we ever had. He's beaten Patrick Lencioni, John Maxwell, Alan Mulally.
The question is, do you have an organization that allows the truth to be spoken even when it's against what you want to hear? Does your organization feel safe to say, you know what, I don't agree. I see it this way. The scariest moment for a leader, is when people stop telling the leader the truth. Because the leader will start creating their own world. There's a name for that world. It's called La La Land. And it's where the birth of disconnected leaders is where they live.
Without ever using the word purpose, René helped us find purpose.
The experience is not something you can explain. You just have to show up and feel it for yourself.
All of you have a story to tell. All of you have to figure out how you're going to communicate that story in a way that not only people will listen to you, but also act upon what it is that you're saying. So many of us were taught, how do we speak? But very few of us were taught, how do we actually get people to listen? I get people so angry when people won't listen. Teachers get angry that students won't hear us. I told a teacher one time, I told 400 principals, I said, stop getting mad that your students won't listen. Start getting better at what you do. You're boring. You used to put me to sleep. How many of you ever had boring teachers? Yeah. And then how many of you had that one or two teachers that jumped on a table, went out of their way to engage us? Those are the ones. I love when Mark Cuban gets on Shark Tank and you get that one victim entitled person that says, well, you guys need to listen to me. And Mark goes, no, hold on a second. It's not our job to listen to you. It's your job to make us want to listen to you. And once we take ownership on that, all of a sudden the game begins. Because no more excuses, there's none of the BS that begins. We start to understand that there's a way to do this. Life, sales, entrepreneurship, the brain is all about a sequence. We were created in the same way. Our brains were created in the same way. And there's a certain sequence that our brain functions. And if we can understand that sequence, everything becomes easier. See, 27 years ago, my mother, she looked at me, she said, René, look around this room and tell me one thing that everybody here has in common. And I looked around the room, I was trying to figure out where they were from, I was trying to look at facial expressions, skin color, culture, and I couldn't figure it out. And she said, everybody has a brain. And if you understand how that brain works, life just becomes easier.
I don't know anyone better or who's more well-researched than René when it comes to influence and persuasion and the science of how the brain works.
Anybody can lead and inspire people that already agree with you. Go to social media and put a post about what you believe and talk about the other side, and you watch. People who already believe what you believe are going to come to your rescue and tell you how great you are. And you're going to feel amazing. Guess what? That's not leadership, because anybody can do that. Try to spark an idea in the mind of the opposition. Get somebody who disagrees with you to say, you know what, hold on a second. I never thought about it that way. That is influence. And that's what I want to talk about today. But to be able to do that, to be able to spark that idea in the mind of opposition, requires us to understand that people are going to feel uncomfortable. And what happens in the brain, because that's my background, that's my passion. What's the neuroscience of this resistance? What's the neuroscience of our ability to be able to change to that? May 15th, 1961, a gentleman by the name of Alan Shepard is sitting atop of the Redstone rocket, getting ready for the Freedom 7 mission about to be launched off into space. Now, if you haven't heard of Alan Shepard, he was the first American to enter space. And a reporter gets to him and says, Mr. Shepard, no one's ever done this before. The world is watching, and we want to know what's going through your mind. And his answer will forever go down in history when he says, the fact that every bit of this rocket was built by the lowest bidder. See, what that story means to me is that every time we buy a product or a service, we're faced with one of two things. We have this thing that we call the moment of purchase. Every time we're trying to buy a product, it's a moment of purchase when we're thinking about things like budget, We're thinking about things like saving money, cutting corners. How do we make this cheaper? Because we're thinking about how much we're going to spend. But when there's this other time that we call the time of performance, we're not thinking about budgets. We're not thinking about saving money or cutting corners. What are we thinking about? If I'm sitting on top of the Redstone rocket, I'm thinking, will I get home to my family? Will what I'm about to spend money on, will it do what it promised?
I think the difference with René is that he comes up on stage and he gives you a moment to not only motivate you and inspire you, but it gives you actionable steps that changes your behavior the next day.
I've been selling for over 40 years, and I've been to Jim Rohn, I've been to Zig Ziglar, I've been to Tony Robbins, but the way that René packages things, it's refreshing, it's new, it's exciting.
He laid it out just perfectly. René is by far the best speaker that I've seen throughout the 14 years I've been in the business. Lights out as far as that goes.
My purpose is to get you to wake up and realize you can shine. To have the courage to step forward and shine big, to shine bright, to go through the work to figure out who the hell you are in this world and what you believe, and step forward into that as big as you can. Without apology, without fear, and yeah, you may cry. So what? Do it anyways. The world needs it.
We are in a world that has been through all sorts of things. We need your stories. The economy needs us to sell our products. We need the solutions you have in the marketplace. But we need you to get beyond the basic value propositions and into compelling stories that inspire us to take the actions. All of you have a reason why you do what it is that you do. But it takes the effort, it takes the time to go back and ask yourself, why is it that you do what you do? How do I share this? Put in the efforts. This isn't something you just show up for. My hope for you is that it at least triggers a sense of curiosity for you to begin the search and the journey of what influence might mean to you. And now you know that it's within reach. It begins with your body, follows to your heart, and comes out of your mouth in a sequence that all of us can act upon. Thanks for having me here today. Appreciate it.